to Watch is an intimate look into the lives of prominent and influential women leaders from around the world and the challenges they faced on their journey. It's the real story behind her title. Join us every week to hear more stories about women from around the world and in your own communities at womentowatch.net. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another week of Women to Watch. I'm Sue Rocco. Thanks so much for joining me. My guest this week is Shauna Sweeney, and Shauna is the founder and CEO of a new tech company called Tender. And her company provides resources and tools for caretakers and patients who are suffering from chronic disease. Shauna has a really beautiful story. She started this company after learning her father was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. So she left a very successful career at Facebook to start this company. Don't forget to stay with us during the breaks, where you'll hear from our watch team of corporate partners, bringing you news and education from their fields. And as always, a quick reminder to subscribe to our YouTube channel at W2W Media. So now I'm very honored and excited to welcome to the show, Shauna Sweeney. Shauna, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, Sue. I'm glad to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. You know that this topic, which has to do with this company you just started, is very near and dear to my heart. And I would say that, everything about your entrepreneurial journey stems from your love of your dad. So I wanted to start there and let our listeners and viewers know why you started Tender and a little bit about your relationship with your dad.
I love talking about him. My dad is my hero. He raised me as a single parent when I was growing up in California. And so he was both my softball coach and also at all of my brownie meetings. He really played double duty for me. So we have an incredibly tight relationship. He also really taught me the value of believing in my own capabilities, but also the importance of hard work. Really taught both of those lessons to me very early. And I also got to observe someone who truly loved what he did for work. He was a ship captain. And so to be able to have a front row seat to someone who just could not wait to get to work every day really framed my own idea of what a career and what work life really meant. So my dad and I were very, very close all the way up through when I decided to pursue a career in technology in my 20s at that point. And this is really where our story starts to change, and also where the very beginning seeds of Tender really took hold. And that's unfortunately for my family. When my dad went into his regular annual physical as a ship captain, you have to go in, make sure you're fit for duty. And they started to see that there were some irregularities, some things going on that really prompted further investigation. And in our case, it was that my dad, he had been diagnosed with early-onset Alzheimer's at that point. We didn't know what this meant. Had no idea. But what I did know right away, just based off of our closeness, was that I was going to be with him every step of the way on this, and that this is really honestly my opportunity to repay the favor of just what an incredible parent he had been to me. And so that's really how this whole journey started, which was coming from a daughter's sort of early instinct, which many of us have when we hear that there might be something going on with our family, to really lean in and help make sure that they've got the best care possible. So that was 12 years ago. I have been on this journey with my dad. He is still bravely fighting this disease. And I've learned so much along the way in supporting him as he has lived with Alzheimer's. That has really informed a lot of the empathy and early lessons that drove ultimately what was the idea behind Tender, the company that I started 3 years ago. And that's, how do we use technology in a way that helps us take better care of the people that matter to us? What role can it play in taking a lot of what I found just as a daughter, and then later through many of the different eldest daughters and caregivers that I talked to, this weird switch we go through where we become the administrator for our family. And it becomes a lot about forms and managing bureaucracy and these very complex systems, and much less about what we really want to be spending our time with, which is quality time together and really spending time on our own relationship. And my hope is that by bringing much more powerful technology to this experience that we all just universally go through, my dad and I, we're still on this journey, and others, we can spend a lot more time on being present with one another, staying close, staying connected, and a lot less time on a lot of the form filling and administration that often we're pulled into.
Yeah. Shauna, I want to kind of paint the picture of what allowed you. First of all, I want our viewers to know that you had a very successful career as an executive with Facebook, which is now Meta. And so you had an interest in technology, you studied and landed a very good job in that field. Um, but then you saw a need and you didn't just think about it, you actually left a very secure, terrific job and decided to start this company, which, by the way, I would say you're a pioneer in this field, having gone through the very same journey. My mom passed from Alzheimer's a couple of years ago, and so I know the complexities of it, the worry, the fear. And I know you hear this all the time, had I had this technology, this app to guide me, it would have changed everything for myself and my entire family. So I always like to start, I want to kind of backtrack before we talk about Tender, the company itself, and find out what allowed you to become that person, that woman that took a leap of faith. I guess tell me first, where did your first exposure or interest in technology come from when you were young?
Such a great question. It feels like this interest in technology was in my blood. I can remember just being so interested in gadgets and how things worked from such an early age. And I do come from a family of inventors, so I think it might actually be in my blood.
Okay.
My great grandpa was an inventor. He had over 100 patents. Um,
Wow,
Probably
that's a
not the
big
thing that
deal.
he would have pointed to as his biggest contribution, but definitely the one that our family talks about. He was behind the tater tot and a lot of the machinery that went into it. And so I grew up with stories of great grandpa, and also this idea that technology is this very active, dynamic process we can all participate in and have our place in. And so to me, it was a sort of a natural calling. I also loved the idea that if you could solve a problem once, you could potentially infinitely solve it through technology. It doesn't have to be sort of a one time solution, which often we're limited to if you're doing something by hand, but you can now do something that has incredible impact on those around you, especially if it's solving a problem that many of us are facing. But always obsessed with gadgets and different things that would make life easier. I remember like early versions of ways to be able to electronically take notes I would bring to school, and the battery would last about like 10 minutes, right? And so when the opportunity came to work at Facebook, this was in the very, very early days. There was so much potential here for looking at old problems with new solutions, and then to be able to do this at this incredible scale. And so it was a total dream to go and work in a place in which the impact that you were having could really be quite outsized if you were to be able to do it right. So it was a very exciting time to be entering into technology. To your point, I was very lucky. I had a large global role at Facebook and was well on my way to continuing to carve out a career in more established tech, or big tech, as they call it, before this experience, which sort of befell my family, really shifted my perspective and really started the engine on thinking about going out and really building technology that doesn't exist yet that deserves a place for all of us. And sometimes to do that, you can do that in an established organization. And sometimes the place to do that is just by starting completely fresh, which is what we did at Tender.
Yeah. Tell me, when you think back at your younger years growing up, and it was just your dad and you,
Mm.
um, what was your greatest fear then? What was a challenge? What was something that was difficult for you?
Mm. I remember having a recurring fear that my dad, I would be somewhere and get the news that like something had happened to my dad. There was like an accident or something that would have happened that would have like really taken out what at that point was like my entire support structure. Very lucky I had a great grandma and others, but really my dad and I were kind of us against the world in many ways. So that was a huge sort of underlying fear. Um, And I think also as a part of that, because we were constantly sort of a two-part household, we were always leaning into doing more than sort of the expected role. I remember like filling out parent forms on behalf of him. Like we kind of just worked together to get things done. And so a big fear was always like, is there something we missed? Is there some deadline that we've missed? Or, is there something that would have been expected to be a three-part team that we just didn't have enough time to cover? And, what was that thing? And could we get to it before there was any like major repercussions? In that case, it would be like me missing a field trip or something like that, which is a very big deal when you're in like fifth grade. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
How about activities, sports? What kinds of things did you participate in?
It's funny. I think my dad sort of he enrolled me in many of the sports that I think he would have if he had had a son. I think I was in, you name it. Like I was in basketball, I was in softball, I was doing cross country, I was doing soccer, kind of all over the map, sailing, many, many different sports. Sports were just incredible territory for business. I think about business like a sport. I learned so many of the skills that I now use in those early days of sports, especially in softball. I was a pitcher. I was not a good pitcher in the beginning, but I really wanted to be a pitcher. And my dad was incredibly supportive of this, and so much so that we would go out to the local field and we would do 100 pitches a day, rain or shine. And like literally in the
Wow,
rain, I remember
that's
doing
discipline.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the
Wow.
rain, which like sometimes I really didn't want to do. There's like many times where you're
I'm
like, this is a
sure.
terrible idea. I should not be doing this right now. And I remember like that was really good training ground for me where my dad was like, nope, we're doing this. Like you're going to show up. This is something that you wanted to do and we're going to do the thing. And so every day I would go and I would practice with him. I went from being like really mediocre or less than mediocre to like quite good at pitching as a result of just that sustained effort. And I think about that often because so much of being an entrepreneur is being willing to go into spaces that you may or may not have had any experience in. You may not initially be good. There might not even be a physical way for you to be good at the thing until you've really done the thing enough. And so I think about those lessons early, which is that sustained practice of something will generally result, if not excellence, like pretty close after a certain amount of hours invested. So especially when I'm digging into something that I'm just not naturally drawn to or just have not had a lot of experience in, like product design is a great example of that. I think about those early lessons quite a bit.
Yeah. Tell me when your dad was diagnosed, and I'm sure that that day was really tough. When you had your moment when you thought, gosh, what I really need is something to keep me organized, and you're not physically close to your dad either, right? So your dad is in California,
That's right. And
right?
I'm in New York. Yep.
Making it even harder. What's the first step you take? Who is the first person you call with this
Mm.
idea? And my guess is, having worked in technology, you have a network, right, of some knowledgeable folks. Who was the first call you made?
It's interesting. It wasn't one person. It happened actually quite organically. In this process of taking care of my dad, I was still very much thinking about this as my own personal problem. This was something for my family. And in many cases, I hear this often, it's something we hide. We don't like to talk about illness. We don't like to talk about these things. It's embarrassing often. And so at that point, I was looking for safe space to be able to just talk about this experience. And so what I ended up doing was starting an employee resource group at Facebook, aging parents and caregivers. And I thought maybe I'd find 2 or 3 other colleagues and we could just have a chat and share sort of battle stories. And then a really wild thing happened. Word of mouth kind of got out about this little tiny group that had started. And we started getting thousands of requests to join across the
Wow.
company. And Facebook was
Wow.
like a relatively small company at this point. So this was really surprising behavior. And it grew to about 3,500 people who are part of this like tiny little club that we were
Wow.
starting. And all of
All
a sudden,
caretakers, I guess,
all
right?
caretakers,
All
all
caretakers.
different types. Yeah, taking
Yeah.
care of sometimes a parent in a different country, sometimes a parent in their own home, sometimes a spouse, sometimes an adult child, but all in these scenarios of really spending quite a significant amount of time on some element of care for their family.
And
And
you
so
would
this
say for the chronic illness, right? So just so our audience
absolutely.
knows, Tender's not just for Alzheimer's patients; it's for anyone taking care of a family member.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It started in my own personal experience through Alzheimer's, but
Yeah,
really meant for anyone who's spending any amount of time on care, taking someone to the doctor, managing someone's bills, stepping in to help because groceries are getting heavy, like any reason that you're starting to devote extra time.
yeah,
But this group actually became the impetus for Tender because what the conversation ended up landing on was that there were no really good tools for many of us trying to sort this out. There was no one place to start to build a system around. And so it was actually of the group really identifying the need that I saw a void that needed to be filled. And I also knew this was going to take a long time and it was going to take a highly motivated individual to really go after this. And I sort of fell in love with the problem along the way. I fell in love with all the people who were in this group, and then through those people, the problem. And it quickly became so much more important in my mind to spend my time on that than even though I had a wonderful job and an incredible team, what I was doing as part of my official day job, if you will.
yeah, yeah. One thing I remember is thinking that the doctors were going to give me all the answers I needed. That not only do they not know, but they don't have the time. Those visits are right. It's so, and that's a problem I would say across our entire healthcare system.
Yeah. It's
The
shocking. Yeah, you think you've done your homework. You're like, great, we have a doctor. We're gonna go in. And then you
yeah,
realize, oh, it's a 15-minute appointment. And then they say,
yes,
see you in 6 months. You're like,
yes,
what
yeah.
do
I
I
know,
do between now and then? Yeah, that
right?
that is a cold awakening when you
It
realize
is.
there is not often a real roadmap for
Yeah,
how to get you from that first appointment to the next check-in.
yeah, or a quarterback for right. You are that person.
Yeah.
Um,
We
Listen, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about the company, and you can share, exactly what it is and all the great things that it does.
can't wait.
Stay with us as we go into our first break. You'll hear from our watch team of corporate partners, and we'll be back with Shauna Sweeney.
Hi, my name is Christy McCaffrey. I'm the founder and owner of Be the Good Media, and I'm here to share some good news with you. Today, I wanted to share with you about a woman who is truly doing meaningful and impact-driven work in her community. Her name is Corinne O'Connell. Corinne is the CEO of Habitat for Humanity Philadelphia. And as CEO, Corinne and her team work to make sure that every person in our city has a decent place to live. I was truly inspired in speaking with Corinne on my show because it was just so clear how passionate she is about making a meaningful impact in her community and in the lives of those she serves, not just today, but for many more years to come. You can hear more of my conversation with Corinne at bethegoodmedia.com, and there you will also learn more about how Be the Good Media helps to amplify impact-driven missions and causes. Again, I'm Christy McCaffrey. Stay tuned here on Women to Watch Media for more good news.
As a female-led organization, you have to bring it every single day. We're a mashup of sort of right and left brain, So we're not just doing management consulting, we're not just doing creative services, we're not just producing an event, but we're bringing a comprehensive solution to our clients. And because of the way we approach it, we end up being bought into what it is that we're doing in a way that we truly have as much skin in the game as our clients do, whether it's bringing affordable internet to communities across the Caribbean, or it's helping Comcast with their Internet Essentials program, which is something we've been very proud to work on, or it's helping the NFL celebrate their centennial season by getting 1 million people to give at least 100 minutes to causes they care about, or helping the city of Philadelphia win the World Cup. So what's next for us? Well, we just hit just over 100 employees. I think we are at that tipping point, and I don't think there's anybody that does it better than we do. I'm Maggie Wilkinson, CEO of Athena Global Advisors, a company that is proudly based in Philadelphia.
Ladies, I'm Tiffany Curden, a financial professional with more than 25 years of experience serving successful women, families, and businesses. Here's the reality. You don't have to be the one managing your family's finances to take ownership of your future. But if you want true confidence about how everything is going to play out, you do have to take part in the process. That doesn't mean digging into the weeds of your finances when you don't have the time or desire. It means elevating your awareness of your own circumstances. It means having the bigger conversations so you're empowered when you need to be. Let's bring confidence to your family's future without overwhelming your time. Call my cell at 903-520-2709. That's 903-520-2709. Or visit Johnson Financial Group on our website, www.jfg.cc. Not .com, www.jfg.cc.
Hi, I'm Dawn Zier, CEO, Board Director, and Executive Mentor to Fortune 500 executives through my work at the Exco Group, firm of experienced CEOs, board directors, and global business leaders who offer real-world experience to help organizations and senior leaders grow. Today on Leadership Watch, we're going to talk about being in the driver's seat of your career. No matter what stage you're at in your career, you need to grasp that you are in the driver's seat. Understanding from day one that you and you alone are responsible for your career is critical. After all, why would you hand your career over to someone else to manage? There's no one as vested in yourself as you, and the ugly truth is that most managers are focused on execution rather than team development. So how can you ensure that your career stays on track? First, make sure you have a clear set of agreed upon goals that are measurable, and if priorities shift, rewrite them with buy-in. 2, if you see something that can be improved upon or automated, don't wait to be asked, just do it. This is good advice for tech-savvy millennials and Gen Zs who can help lead the way with AI. 3, don't insulate yourself. Get to know other parts of the organization and network both internally and externally. Feel free to drive outside of your lane. And 4, while your career is yours to own, don't go it alone. Identify sponsors and mentors. Also, it's important to make self-reflection and self-assessment a habit. Think through where you want to be 5 years from now and create a roadmap for yourself. Does your current path get you there? Are you passionate about what you're doing? Do you feel challenged? Are you learning? Do you feel respected? And importantly, are you a cultural fit? And is the company a cultural fit for you? If you answer negative to any of these questions, it's likely time for some course correcting. Please follow me on LinkedIn at Dawn Zier. And if you're a senior executive looking to grow in your career, check out excoleadership.com to learn more.
Welcome back to the show. I'm speaking this week with Shauna Sweeney, and Shauna is the founder and CEO of Tender, which is, I would say, an incredibly pioneering technology company that provides support and resources for caretakers who are helping family members with chronic disease. And in Shauna's case, it happened to be Alzheimer's for her dad. And I want to share this quote because first I want to talk about how going from a job like an executive with Facebook to being an entrepreneur, how that kind of can lift you up. You said doing good and real good in the world is a whole different ballgame with how you spend your precious life. don't waste time on anything else. Tell me how it feels to be doing that as opposed to a job for someone else.
Mm. It is this incredibly invigorating, purpose-filled, and terrifying experience. There's so much safety and there's so much sort of validation that comes from working at an established company. There's many good reasons to choose that career path. I think for those who have this urge to go out and create and to truly choose the people that you work with and to have a real opportunity to make an impact on the type of world that you and your loved ones and your future generations are living in. Entrepreneurship is this wild roller coaster ride that brings you through, the peaks of joy and sense of accomplishment into the depths of despair and questioning of your own
Fear.
capabilities.
You're just
And real
terrified, right?
fear.
Oh
Yeah,
my God. Yeah.
especially when you are a mom like myself. I've got
Yeah.
3 kids, and the stakes are not just if I win or fail, but also, who's going to be helping my kids pay for their college? And, is this a wild and zany path? I think every entrepreneur has to answer that for themselves. And I think what ultimately led me to this path and still to feel very, very good about this path is that I truly believe that we each play a role in not just living or existing in the world that we find ourselves in, but in really participating and shaping it and making it one that we can sign off on. And so to me, the idea of spending most of my waking days on building the world that I know needs to exist, it's a tremendous privilege.
Yeah. Are you on the other side of looking at your company now and saying it's going to sustain? Where are you? Like, where are you as a startup?
I mean, I feel so lucky. It gets easier every day. It's definitely now a very real, breathing, live company. We have thousands of caregivers who are on our platform. We get feedback from our amazing users, real people out there who are using this in places like the emergency room this week, at doctor's appointments. And so that's an incredible place to be. I don't think as a founder, you ever are resting easy. I'm not sure that state exists. It might potentially, but you're always constantly thinking about how can you improve? How can you grow? Where are there areas of the business that you could be better or stronger or faster? And so what I found is as the business has gone from being just an idea early days to now having a full team and to having so many people actually using the tools we've built, the problems or the fears just change. It's just
Right.
a new
Yeah.
set at this point.
Yes.
I feel very lucky that we're very much real now and out in the world.
Yeah. I caught an interview you did with Lisa Ling, and what was so wonderful in that interview was the visual of you going through this app and showing people exactly what it does. Because I think when you talk about resources and tools and, these words, within technology, without a visual, sometimes it's hard for people to understand. But tell us, exactly what Tender does and all the different aspects of caring for somebody, how it helps.
Mm. So it is designed to meet you and your family, your unique family, in whatever place you are at. The idea is this is really your companion and your smart care system in your phone with you wherever you go. It helps you with gradual onboarding of, are you just starting out and thinking about taking care of your parent? Are you in the middle of sort of an emergency where you have now just entered into an emergency room because of an unexpected fall and there's like all kinds of questions and not enough answers? Are you helping someone like a sister who's actually doing the majority of the work, and you're looking to be more helpful or get more access to information because you live far away and a lot of the action is happening, let's say, in the town that you grew up in. Tender is really there to basically give you all of the information and all of the contextual sort of know-how and what to do next that you would have if you had a whole superstar team of gerontologists and elder care attorneys and social workers on call for you 24/7. And the way that we do that is we try and make it as simple as possible. We ask a couple of quick questions in the beginning to really identify, how long you've been doing this, where are you most worried, or where could you use the most help? And then the app itself looks very, very different depending on what those answers are and what we start to suggest that you do.
So it uses AI, am I right?
We do.
So when I watched it's so simple to kind of fill out your profile. It's not, an extensive, because these people that are doing this, they're exhausted because they're caretakers, right? So I found that to be very, very simple. And then what I would imagine is the greatest is how it organizes all of the things that people ask you for, the medications, the cards, insurance information, all of that stuff that you don't have to go searching for over and over again.
Exactly. We like to say we're bringing your filing cabinet with you, and then imagine it getting a total makeover so that it's a smart filing cabinet. We automatically organize the most important information you're going to need in the emergency room. We organize the most important information you're going to need for a doctor's appointment. Here is all of the most important information you should probably send to different family members if they're going to be backup caregivers. We put all of this together in a really easy, beautiful way for you that not only can you store in a secure place, but that you can also share on the go in real time. Sometimes it's really important to be able to share this information out, whether it's to doctors, to attorneys, if you're going to go prepare important legal documents, but to really make this easy for you to access on the go. So many of these things are hard copies. You wouldn't bring them with you. You wouldn't bring a lot of like your original copies of someone's deed or someone's birth certificate, but it's really good to have these things on hand. Same thing with durable power of attorney. So yeah, we make it really easy. And then we make it really easy for you to share as part of a care team. So oftentimes we have many members of our team. We have siblings, we've got neighbors, we have important people.
Drivers, right?
Exactly.
People who are driving your loved one around.
It's important to do it together. So, and we do use AI. The idea is to make this simple. And so many of us are sitting on slips of paper or printouts from the hospital or the doctor's office or our own hand scribbled notes. You can simply take a picture and it will auto summarize, categorize, and then upload that into your vault for you. So we really try and take a lot of the heavy lifting off of your shoulders, because we do know caregivers are the most time crunched people on earth. They're our superheroes. And one of our core principles is saving as much time as possible.
What are you most excited about for the future of the company? Is there something that you're working on, even from a tech standpoint, that you can share with us that you're excited about implementing?
Yeah, we have a new feature that's coming out. We call it our Smart Care Plan. And this is an incredible step-by-step sort of bite-sized to-do list for you, just for you, personalized to your family, for if you only have 5 minutes in your day to do something that's going to have incredible impact on either the health or the wealth of your family. Here are the 5 things to do today. We've been waiting on this one and working on it quite a bit for the last couple of months. So it's a big deal for us.
Yeah. Can I ask you, when you say you're on a mission to radically transform family, how do you see this doing that, aside from just the logistics of taking care of someone?
Right now, I think that we don't, as families, have a lot of the tools to navigate aging. We look at this experience as something to be avoided or as something to hope doesn't happen to us. And That's just not possible. And so what that ends up leading to is often a lot of delayed conversations or conversations we just don't have at all. It ends up leading to misunderstandings, or it ends up leading to sometimes even just outright conflict across family members, and how we manage a lot of the natural parts of what it means to care for a family member who happens to be aging. And I believe in a world in which we can normalize a lot of this experience and celebrate it even. This becomes something that the entire family is invited to participate in and can find meaningful roles in this to so support the person who is aging and going through this experience, and also sort of rethinking their own roles in the family as a result of this. And so we see technology like Tender being an incredible neutralizing and normalizing force to reframe our family's experience of aging in one in which it can lead to even closer connections, deeper relationships, smoother transitions as we go through this as families all across the world, and ultimately a much more positive experience both for the person who's on the receiving end of the care and those who are giving it.
And one of the things I think we should encourage is for parents to talk to their children and families about their wishes, right? And I don't know why, it is a normal part of the cycle of life, but it's very, very hard to talk about.
It's really hard to talk about. And unfortunately, the reality is there are scenarios in which there are times when you might not be able to voice what you want
Correct.
at a future
Yes.
date. And so
Yes.
if you don't have those conversations early about what type of
Right.
care you'd want, you lose that opportunity. So it's really important to be able to sit down, have those moments, and then your family can really carry out the level of care that you would have wanted if you can communicate it. So important to do that early. And it's really easy to let it go or put it on the to-do list, and it doesn't happen. So we are really excited by the opportunity to prompt a lot of this and start to normalize and make it part of your daily routine.
Yeah. And by the way, it's an app on the phone, but I'm assuming it's also, you can go onto your laptop and go to the website if you want to be working from a large.
Absolutely. And we have tons of resources and guides on our website online. We are available on the App Store. Just go in under Tender Care. You'll be able to find us. And so both work together in companion.
Yeah. My last question for you. One of the things I think that you get excited about is the power of community
Mm.
and building, and that's something that Tender offers as well. It makes things so much better when you have someone beside you that's going through the very same thing. Are you doing anything to kind of build the community, do any kind of events or things with the members outside of just providing the actual app?
It's so funny you say that. We are actually going into a very exciting next couple of months where we are actually going to be doing a few things. One, for the existing community, we have several thousand who are inside of our community, inside of Tender, a number of different webinars. So going really deep on a few different topics that our users are really curious about, whether that be doing a deep dive on some of the legal documents that you need, even having tough conversations, some of what we were talking about earlier, but then also spreading the love. One of the things that we have found is that our community is the first port of assistance often to others who are just starting out on the journey. You've just gotten a diagnosis and you go to your friend to ask for advice because you know that they've gone through this, or you don't feel comfortable talking about some embarrassing thing that might be happening. You don't quite understand it. You'll go to a relative or go to, a trusted someone in your network. So one of the things that we're doing, especially around Giving Tuesday, is we're actually incentivizing our own existing community to go out and spread the love and provide a little bit of the tooling that we offer at Tender to others that they know who need it. And in return for that, we are going to be raising funds for the Alzheimer's Association. So for every new member of the community, we will be giving back to a larger cause, which sometimes for some of us is the reason that we start caregiving in the first place.
Yeah, I love that. As you were talking about that, I had this thought in my head that the members, these people, this particular demographic of people, they're really good people. They're the ones who step up and say, I'll take care of mom, I'll take care of dad. So there's probably a lot of power within this particular group. And yeah.
They're the family's first responder. They are
Yeah.
the ones who have care in their DNA.
Correct.
They have already started to do so much of this work before they even know the term for caregiving. And so they are the most incredible individuals. They're often community leaders. They're the ones bringing people together. They understand the value of taking care of those around them. It is such a privilege to build for them because they are behind the scenes helping so many in their sphere of influence in countless ways. And so they are truly out there giving a helping hand to everyone within their orbit. And so it is wonderful to be able to empower them.
Yeah, they're deserving for sure. Shauna, thank you so much for taking time to be with me. You know I'm here to support you in any way I can.
Thank you so much, Sue. This has been incredible.
We'll be following along and we'll be sharing all of the information for our viewers and our listeners of the podcast.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you. I'm going to go into my last break and then I'll be back to close out the show.
Children's Hospital of Philadelphia has long been ranked as one of the best children's hospitals in the country. In our Women to Watch at CHOP series, we'll meet the women working to preserve this best-in-class pediatric innovation. Let's meet Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer, Sophia Holder. Sophia, just take a minute to kind of introduce yourself to our guests, tell them a little bit about where you came from and how you ended up in this role.
Yes, and thank you, Susan, for just the amazing work that you do to inspire women leadership. I would still call myself as new to CHOP. Started just over 3 years ago, and I'm honestly in my dream job in an organization that is focused on delivering and innovating care for children. And so it's hard not to find joy in that space. My career in healthcare spans many years, starting in the adult side and now on the pediatric side. And I'm just really thrilled to be with you today.
What advice would you have for our listeners and our viewers listening to you today?
So I would offer 2 pieces of advice. Focus on continuous learning. Be a life learner. That's the frame that I often use with those who work with me and for me. Stay updated on industry trends. Continuously seek opportunities for learning and growth. Knowledge is power in any leadership role. I think the other piece of advice I would give is model authenticity. Be authentic and true to yourself. Authentic leadership builds trust and loyalty among your team and your peers, foundational to building effective teams and supporting cross-collaboration and partnership.
Thanks so much to Sophia Holder for joining us. Stay tuned for more Women to Watch at CHOP.
We are CHOP, and we can't wait to show you around. We're the nation's first children's hospital. Now, a care network with more than 50 locations that continues to expand. 3 state-of-the-art research buildings with 1.5 million square feet of space. We have grown from 12 beds 165 years ago to nearly 600 beds and one of the best children's hospitals in the world. We have a level 1 trauma center, 11 floors of patient units, more than 20 operating rooms, first of its kind delivery unit for babies with birth defects, a separate cardiac operative and catheterization suite, and places to learn, like our internationally recognized simulation center. We have trained generations of leaders in the field of pediatrics. We are world leaders in medicine, surgery, and science. One of the top recipients in NIH funding for pediatric research. In this building, pioneers in CAR T therapy, mitochondrial disease, brain tumors, hyperinsulinism, and other rare diseases. Here, groundbreaking work in fetal surgery, genetics and genomics, and neurology. In our newest building, leaders in social determinants of health, clinical informatics and epidemiology, autism, trauma and injury prevention. Our patients come from every state and 115 countries. Meeting these challenges requires the best and the brightest. We are passionate about pediatrics. We are motivated to make a difference in the world and in our community. We are a team. We are CHOP.
That's it, everyone, for another week of Women to Watch. Thank you, as always, to our sponsors and our watch team for helping us to bring you the show each and every week. We're so grateful. Next week, I'm going to be joined by Maria Grasso, and Maria is Senior Vice President for the Philadelphia Convention and Visitors Bureau right here in Philadelphia. Thanks for being with me, and have a great week.